flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody. Order.
Scott Horowitz. Ed Warner, I'm present. Richard T. Marin.
Here.
Joe McLaughlin.
Oh.
Mark Parsons.
Present.
We're all here, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Okay, welcome everybody to the work session September 9th here at Town Hall, 9:30 a.m. If everyone could please silence their cell phones now. We're going to have a presentation by Steve Sienkiewicz from U.S. Fish and Wildlife. I want to say a big shout out and thank you to the folks that are here from the other regulatory authorities. I see County Legislator Welker is here as well, and Councilwoman Cindy McNamara is here, and I see Ryan Murphy's here from Public Safety. And we also have Mayor Manger from the village. Thank you very much for attending. Let's get right down to our presentation. This is going to be an information presentation. There's not going to be a question and answer session. This is a work session. We're not set up for that, nor are these folks. But if you do have questions, please feel free to write them down. You can contact us and we'll get you answers to your questions. So that being said, Mr. Sienkiewicz, I will give you the floor.
Thank you, Scott. So good morning. So again, my name is Steve Sienkiewicz. I'm at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Long Island Field Office. I'm here to discuss the Off-Road Vehicle Access and Endangered Species Act compliance in the town of Southampton. So I thought it'd be good to just go over the responsibilities of the government agencies involved with threatened endangered species, coastal pond and beach access management in the town of Southampton. So the Southampton trustees, and hopefully I get this correct, this is my understanding, so if I don't get everything correct, you could let me know. But so the Southampton trustees and the Southampton Village grant permits for off-road vehicle access and ultimately decide when and where beach closures occur. Enforcement, they also enforce local ordinances such as leash laws, intrusions into protected fencing, etc. So the trustees fund and implement the Threatened and Endangered Species program. They're also involved in the Mecox and Sagaponack Pond openings. And also the trustee staff regularly coordinate with the Fish and Wildlife Service on beach closures. I could personally attest to the tenacity of the trustee staff calling me and discussing when they could open the beaches. So they definitely are good at doing that. And forgive me with the town of Southampton if there's more involved, but I primarily deal with the trustees. But my understanding is they partially fund the Threatened and Endangered Species program. So as far as what our responsibilities are, so we enforce the applicable federal laws, provide guidelines to avoid violations. We regularly coordinate with the trustees on beach access, including the picnic area management plan. Also involved in coastal pond openings, providing supplies and assisting installing the symbolic or protective fencing. And we consult with the United States Corps of Engineers in the coastal pond openings. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation enforce applicable state laws, regularly coordinate with the trustees on beach access, pond openings, providing supplies and assisting in the fencing. And they also actually authorize the coastal pond openings. And then the Corps of Engineers actually authorizes the coastal pond openings for the federal permit that's needed. So what are the federal laws that protect threatened and endangered species, ground nesting species? From the federal perspective, it's the Endangered Species Act and the Migratory Bird Treaty Act. The Endangered Species Act protects the piping plover, roseate tern, and the red knot. The Migratory Bird Treaty Act also protects the piping plover, least tern, American oyster catcher, black skimmer, common terns, and many other species as well. So the act itself, the Endangered Species Act, states that it's unlawful for any person to take an endangered or threatened species. So take means to harm, harass, pursue, hunt, shoot, wound, kill, trap, capture, or collect any of these species, or attempt to engage in any of those activities. So the take home here is that take is not just if you kill the bird directly, there's also harassment and many of these other actions that are described there. Well, some of the protected shorebirds that may breed or migrate through from Southampton, the least tern and the common tern are both New York State threatened species. The roseate tern is a federally endangered species. The black skimmer is a species of special concern. The red knot's a federally threatened species. And also there's the American oyster catcher. So each of these species could breed in Southampton with the exception of the red knot, which breeds further north, but it migrates through our areas here. And the species that gets a lot of attention is the piping plover. So it's federally threatened, in New York State endangered. It breeds and forages in Southampton on the ocean and bay beaches in the spring and summer. So the piping plover has some challenges that are unique to them, well, and others, also least tern and other ground nesting species. So they nest right on the ground, on the beach. There's actually a plover nest there, so I'll show you where it is in a second. Just give you a sense how well camouflaged they are. The solitary nesters, so they're not going to nest in colonies. So sometimes it's difficult to know they're even out there. They're well camouflaged. And they'll come off their nest well before you come close to the nest. So some might say, why don't you just put a nest 5 feet around the nest and protect the nest itself? Well, our guidelines call for 50 meters because they'll come off the nest well before you're close to that nest to try to distract predators away. And they generally, the other thing that's challenging with them is that they will return to the same vicinity generally each season. And there's a plover nest there, 4 eggs. So the other big challenge with plovers is that the chicks are mobile. They forage for themselves within a few hours of hatching. And also they're also well camouflaged and difficult to see. As I said, they're very mobile. They'll move as far as 1,000 meters from their nest or over 3,000 feet. And they could usually start to able to fly between 25 and 35 days, but there's a big range there. And unfortunately this year, I think we had one bird that went longer than 35 days before it could fly. So there's some variability there. So there are many threats to it's not just off-road vehicles, but in the context of this discussion, off-road vehicles have the potential to cause the crushing of the eggs of the chicks, separation of the chicks from the parents, disruption, prevention of breeding, and or foraging, site abandonment, and habitat degradation. And then it's not just the driving itself, there's the associated recreational activities. If they bring dogs out onto the beach, the dogs will disturb the plovers. And if there's garbage left out there, it will attract predators such as the red fox. So the service has guidelines that are prepared for recreational activity management. Basically, our recommendation is to avoid the take of listed species. There's the title of it, guidelines. I won't read it verbatim, but there's the title of it there. And there's a link to where you could find those guidelines. So they're advisory. They're not law. It's just our best advice to landowners to avoid take and to avoid harassing them as well. Some of the measures included in our guidelines are installation of symbolic fencing to protect breeding areas, closures of beaches to off-road vehicles when unfledged chicks are present. Also, it does allow for the development of management plans to allow some driving when you have chicks out on the beach, like the one we have for the picnic area. And a big part of that management plan is monitoring and maintenance of buffers. But one of the things we try to stress is the sooner the areas are protected, the sooner the plovers will nest, the eggs will hatch, and the chicks will be able to fly, and the beaches can be open. So getting that fencing out early kind of establishes that timeline quicker. Now, it's not a perfect world. You might have that, and then the chicks might get predated, and they might have to re-nest. So it's not perfect, but many times you can get those beaches open earlier. So the sooner you get that fencing up, the better. So we do have a management plan we work with the trustees on for the picnic area. our guidelines allow for that, and a big part of it is the monitoring to maintain adequate buffers for the plover broods. So I know even one day of having a beach closure is not optimal for many people. But I just wanted to point out that in the last 5 years, although this year it wasn't open until August 17th, which is it's pretty late to the season. I thought it was interesting looking back at the last 5 years, from 2023 from 2023 to 2020, actually was open either sometime mid-July into late July. So this year was especially late to the season. So one option we could look at down the road is an incidental take permit. Basically allows for the taking of listed species, provided that it's a otherwise lawful activity, such as off-road vehicle access. And part of that would include a habitat conservation plan. The big things to remember here is that compensatory mitigation would be required. So we wouldn't just allow for the open up the beach, allow for the taking or harassment of piping plovers without having some kind of compensation. What could that be? Maybe increased predator management in other areas, improving habitat in other areas, or creating new habitat. There needs to be some kind of give and take there. But that is an option. But the thing to remember is that it's a very comprehensive effort, and depending on the complexity, could take several years to complete and can be expensive. But it is an option that maybe down the road could be considered. So I watched the last planning board meeting and some of the testimonials that people provided. So I just kind of highlighted some of the questions that stuck out in my mind. Someone had asked, why are you putting the fencing up in March? You're kind of inviting them to this area. Well, they're very site fidelic, meaning they're coming back. So whether we like it or not, the birds are coming back. They're going to try to nest. And if you don't protect that area, now the eggs are getting crushed. Now they're going to try to re-nest. Or the chicks hatch and they get crushed. They're going to try to re-nest. So it gets back to that whole idea of the earlier the better, where if you don't protect that area, you're just prolonging the whole process. So again, facilitating early breeding in the season is what we recommend. As far as why plovers need so much space, as I had mentioned, the broods are very mobile, and it's a moving target. If you try to just establish one specific area, who's to say they're not going to move to another area? So it's very challenging in that regard. Now the question is, why are the beaches open elsewhere but not in the picnic area? And we get this I work in the Rockaways. I get the same thing, and I understand the perspective. I hear you. I mean, I grew up on Long Island. I take my family to the beach too. So, I know myself, and Fish and Wildlife Service, and the trustees. We're all trying to protect the species while also trying to keep the beaches open as much as we can, and as soon as we can. So each site's different. But the bottom line is, some land managers will inform them you're not following the guidelines, and they just take that chance. So you run the risk if you're not following the guidelines of potential violations. And then over the years, I've always said, why can't we just move the nests? Well, that would be harassing the birds. They probably wouldn't accept the nest wherever you moved it to. And again, they're solitary nesters, so now you're going to drop the eggs in another spot where there might be other plovers and create a lot of conflict there. So it's not really a viable option to move the nest either. So anyway, so the take-home messages here is that the plovers are a federally protected species. We're all trying to be as flexible as we can, but we have to follow the law. And not following the guidelines, again, makes people and organizations susceptible to potential violations. And off-road vehicles have the potential to cause the take of protected species as well as other species beyond the plover. And the service and the trustees strive to recommend as much beach access as we can while still protecting these protected species. And again, an incidental take permit could be an option in the long term. So that's pretty much it. So.
All right, so I want to thank you for making the presentation and the time that you spent reviewing the prior town board meeting so that you could address some of the concerns and I appreciate the public coming here and also some of the other folks that are involved in enforcement and the regulation. I would ask if you do have any further issues or concerns, if you can address them to the board. And we'll get you whatever additional information is that you need. We also have a 1 o'clock session that you're welcome to join and speak at public portion. We'll try and get you answers. I would, at this point, for the sake of better just management of this program, I'd like to have a brief executive session at this point in time, since this does involve litigation and it does involve personnel issues as well. I would like to have a discussion with the regulatory authorities and the local enforcement official and other elected officials. I'd like to do that now, if that's okay. Board?
I'm good with it.
You with it? Okay. So I'd like to ask if the public could leave the room for a bit, and I would like to go into, just adjourn this meeting briefly, pause this meeting, and go into exec session, and we'll come back in.
Yeah.
start with the general permit applications for determination. I see Billy Max here from First Coastal. I have one with you from Susan Crow. Working on this one.
We're good to go.
Ready to go. Okay. Hello, everybody. Oh, hello, we're going. We're going.
Billy Mack, First Coastal, for Mrs. Curland, 23B, Bayside, East Quogue.
This project for a while.
Yeah, this is a eroding shoreline that was pretty severely eroded, and we got a permission from you guys in the DEC to put in a rock wall, which is doing well. We covered, as per the requirement of the permit, we covered the rock wall with sand and planted with beach grass. And every random storm, the sand seaward of the rocks gets washed away and the beach grass doesn't take. Everything landward of it is fine. So what we did is we were modifying the permit to not have to require that sand seaward, and we added a 10-foot buffer landward of the structure for native vegetation, and that's holding up quite well. So we planted a bunch of baccharis and bayberry and beach grass.
It's beat up pretty bad.
And that's a tough shoreline. Yeah,
It's really, the whole topography, everything.
yeah. It's flanked by energy right in that one little corner. So this rock wall is holding up well and protecting the upland, and the buffer that we added is maintaining the vegetation. That's important.
We want to extend the grass from basically the top of the rocks.
Landward 10 feet.
10
Yeah.
feet, and then be similar to like the bulkhead over there, and natural grasses and fertilizer and
Exactly.
watering. So once they establish, it'll be a good project.
Yeah.
You also added koi logs, right?
Yeah, that's right. We added some coir logs just to keep some of the activity localized.
I'd be curious to see how they hold up there.
Yeah, me
The
too.
coir logs are going to be placed on top of the rocks?
No, they're actually as a return on the, I guess that would be
North?
the northeast,
Yeah.
northeast side.
Okay.
The neighbor next door had expressed interest in wanting to do something, but until they do something, the core logs will keep that vegetation intact
Instead of,
from getting washed away. The
it's a
native
temporary
vegetation.
solution, which once the grass takes root and grows, it'll be fine there.
It'll hold, yeah.
I think I'm good.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good with this.
You have one of mine, you Billy, 1.2
Oh, yeah, sure. You're good with this one, so I'm happy to move to.
Do we need stamp plans for that?
Let's see if
Koi
we-
logs? Or is that a Mark question? Or just?
I don't know if that's structural.
Well, it's
I
only
think so.
it's only temporary. It's
I don't
only
think
going to be
you- I don't think you
temporary.
need stamp plans. for
It's
that.
not like the rocks are.
It's like snow
wood-
fencing.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
So we'll
more
advance that.
vegetative and
Yeah,
all.
advance it.
Core logs are,
gonna allow-
non-structural, that's for sure.
it's only good for about 3 or 4 years, and
Yeah,
after that they
if
float.
that, right.
The structural part of it was on the rock.
Right, that was all
Sorry.
done.
Yeah. So we're going to waive the requirements for.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
so we'll advance that. And then you have,
Yeah, 142 Town. So we were in before on this particular one? Pardon me?
Catwalk and float.
Yes, catwalk and float, exactly.
It's just the
I know that
same.
you guys had wanted us to move the dock to the middle of the property. However, there was extensive review by conservation, and they prefer the elevated catwalk with the through flow decking to be where it is proposed here on our plan.
you have a letter from them or something?
We sent them a bunch of information and
So
asked
for
them
the
to
file?
reach out to you guys.
So they want it right on the 10-foot line.
They want it off the 10-foot line. They didn't prefer it in the middle. I think what they're expecting is that beach to be revegetated naturally because it won't be used as much anymore now.
Let's get
So
something
everybody
in
will use
writing
the
from them.
dock, which will keep people off the vegetation.
Yeah, but if you put the dock there with light penetrating decking, then you're really not gonna use the beach.
Well, why
and
can't
the-
they
And the
put-
environment will come back much quicker.
Well, then-
Right,
And
and
then why
that's-
can't you put the light penetrating decking right through the middle?
Yeah.
Well, I guess all the previous arrangement or approvals were based on this dock being in this location. So there would be a big movement to have to move or change the conservation permit and the DEC permit and all the other permits. So
Could we get that, this is Scott's point, could we get that in writing, just so we have it part of the file?
Something to address them back,
yeah.
because I think that maybe they're not looking at all the factors that we're looking at.
And also gets a little bit deeper water there.
We
Not much.
yeah.
So this gets up to this gets to 2.5.
Well, this goes to 2.8.
You
If you move it over, it's
2.8,
2.7. Nothing. That's going to make a
You're
difference.
talking nothing,
Yeah,
not much.
Well, what is the distance it's off the property line?
10 foot.
10 feet,
Oh,
which is Blue Book compliant.
yeah, but
It's-
it's not compliant by other regulatory authorities, I think.
Why don't we zoom out on the GIS and let's see what it looks like?
This seems like the perfect location, right down there.
Sure it
Yeah,
does.
It would be similar with
Yeah.
the property to the
Yeah.
west.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The dock is in the middle of the property.
Mhm.
I'd say we need to.
And it
have
would be
further-
consistent to what we asked for. And if you put a dock there, the vegetation will come back on its own. And you're not gonna get any traffic over it.
I don't think they
As
looked
long
at
as
that.
it's
Where
light
if you-
penetrating
where-
decking and.
Yeah, but where if you move the dock to where it's proposed, they're gonna continually use that little beach there and then the grass will never come back.
Yeah, whereas if you have a
Structure.
walkway that they can go over it instead of walking down the beach.
Okay, I mean, I get your point.
We have to craft a letter going to them, perhaps,
Yeah, I mean,
expressing what the issues are. Perhaps they need to moderate their position for you.
I mean, it's a big burden for the property owner to go through that process to modify the conservation and the DEC permits. And this is Blue Book compliant, so I get it's your, desire to have it where the vegetation doesn't exist, but, we're putting the property owner to.
Right, the
a
10
big
footers
burden.
have been creating, have been problematic.
Well, it's not just the 10 foot. I just don't see the point of going over wetlands when you don't have to. Like I mean, the 10 foot is an issue, and it's always going, and it's something that's got to be worked on. But I mean, that's an ideal location to put your walkway and your dock, and
I get it.
and straight from the jump, it kind of was.
Well,
So,
and filling that in with the natural wetlands is gonna stop any upland erosion too.
Mhm.
What are they gonna come back? Is there a bulkhead or retaining wall upland, or is
I
that
don't
just silt fencing?
I think that's self-fencing.
So it's a natural shoreline there. Why don't we, consistently keep the
There's
vegetation?
nothing there currently then.
There's nothing, there's no
Yeah.
structures on that whole stretch, I believe. It could be next door. Yeah, no, there's nothing.
plus, there's like upland vegetation that's right near the proposed path to get to that. Anyway, it's like it's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, that's a conservation approval. That's the difficult
Yeah,
part.
there's nothing with it.
And those modifications are
Is that Marty's office?
Mark's office, yeah.
Did they consult with us at all on this project?
Not that no.
All right,
'Cause
so maybe we
normally
need to send
We
a,
would consult with them
yeah,
on
we're
it.
gonna have to consult with them and send a
Yeah.
notice over to them that we have issue with this, and he can contact you or myself,
Yeah.
and we can go over it.
Yes.
All right, thank you guys.
Jess, can you send a note over there?
Phil, next time we pop the cut, you want to meet with Joe at Channel?
Happy to.
Okay.
Yeah, give me a
I think it
thing.
would just be a better discussion when the bay's low.
I'm happy to meet there, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
So,
Cool.
I'm around, so.
Yeah, we're trying to keep that alive.
yeah, no, it'd be nice.
Well, when the bay's
Unfortunately,
low
those
at Channel
bulkheads are
Pond, there's
pretty
no,
compromised on
there's no
both sides.
circulation.
You walk right under there. Yeah, it's crazy. It's
And,
dry.
and I have a picture of the green algae that was stuffed up there, and it was disgusting.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It was disgusting this summer.
Yeah, no, that would be a great project to get
Yeah.
to
Absolutely.
get pushed through. Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
very much.
When was the last time that was dredged, do you know?
We did it with Chesterfield, and gosh, it's probably 20 years ago.
Yes. I think I was
Maybe
just,
17. I don't know.
yeah, I think I was just on the board.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
There was a bulkhead issue and then they put in
Yeah.
a bulkhead and that's a good
On
project.
one side they did. They didn't do the other side,
Yeah, the other side,
Yeah.
the north side did.
which is the property in question.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, guys.
All right. You got Springville Huck LLC
Yes. KR Shores, it's an application for
Morning.
3 8-inch tire pilings attached to the bulkhead. Treated lumber. It's the headwaters of Smiths Creek.
Yeah. Right next to that marina.
Right next to the marina. It's pictures. I had pictures.
Actually, two marinas.
Yes.
It's a box there. Two marinas. So it's like right at the head.
Basically, now they have a boat that's tied off there. When you get a high tide, it's.
They get hung up, the gunnel gets
It's
hung
gonna go
up.
right
It
next to the
goes over
bulkhead.
the
Yeah.
bulkhead. Yeah.
And do you know the elevation above the bulkhead of the proposed pilings?
He would like them high.
The
So,
higher the
like,
better.
Yeah, 4 feet.
Yeah, 4
I
feet.
think
At least
I
4
think I
feet.
have the drawing actually at 4 feet.
I'd like to see them higher than
Yeah.
4 feet myself, but 'cause I've seen it go the other way where the boat gets hung up on the top of the piling.
Yeah, I know,
That's
but
just as
Right
awesome.
now, I have them at 4 feet.
4 feet above the height of the bulkhead.
That's
Yeah.
not high enough.
I mean, if it was,
That's-
with that boat, I think if he was gonna be that bad a storm, he would probably pull it.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, but
Yeah, but I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah, but on a normal high tide, that bulkhead is, on a moon tide, that bulkhead is basically right to the top.
That's
So-
what I know, but
so
the boat has
storms-
got a gunnel of like at least
Yeah.
4 feet, and then you're gonna have the gunnel hung up on the top of the pole.
You also have to be careful setting a precedent and setting them to the point where,
I told him not to push it. You know, I think
No, I
like, a
understand.
4
I would
foot
like
was
to see
reasonable
5 foot.
and
I think
necessary.
5 foot is the right number because if you
Yeah.
figure the gunnel
this
of that
is what's
boat
on
is like
so
Yeah.
3.5 feet.
Okay,
If you have a flood tide,
that's up to the board.
yeah.
I mean, if
I
everybody
would say
says
5
5
foot,
feet,
but that's
I'll go
just
5
because I've
feet.
What's in
seen
your
it.
plans? What's in your plans?
They're
4
both
feet.
ugly.
It's 4.
well, you're not even gonna see them because the boat's gonna hide them.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, I would like to go higher than lower because, I mean, I've seen that,
Okay.
you know,
I'll put it
pretty
up
much
I've
when the
seen
boat,
them.
but
I've
other
seen
than
them
that,
go
it's
both
pretty
ways.
simple.
I've seen the gunnel get hung up under the bulkhead, and I've seen the
Right,
gunnel
right.
get caught on top of the pole.
Okay, so I'll put 5 foot max.
well, if you look at the pilings on the
plans
marina to the
above the
south of it,
bulkhead.
a lot of them are at least 5 feet.
They look like they're
high.
5 feet, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that would be consistent with what we
Okay.
allowed in the area.
And recommend that you definitely ban them,
Yes.
Yeah,
otherwise they're gonna
definitely.
split open at the top.
Right, right.
No, we can,
Okay.
move ahead, just
No problem.
change the
Stamp plans
plans.
for the pilings or no?
Five
Yeah,
so.
I'll say
No
5
more than
foot,
5
No
feet.
more than 5 feet, or
We need
5
I don't
feet
think you
max
need-
from
I
the
don't
top
think
of the
so.
bulkhead.
I wouldn't think you need
I don't
it.
think you need stamped NP
There's
plans.
nothing structured
Yeah,
around
there's
this.
nothing.
That's gonna, it's just,
I'll fix
Tire
that, send it
filings.
to you, I'll email
So are we advancing pending the plan?
it. Yeah, it'll be on
Yep.
letter size, so you can just print it.
okay.
Okay,
Okay,
cool. Thanks, bye.
All
okay.
right, Western Promises LLC, Amherst Road.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hopefully this is a little easier than the plover issue. Taylor Sturm from Beeline Associates. We were here last month, I think it was, talking about this, and the board had a couple of small comments about relocating a float and adding some notes that James had mentioned, and we basically just did everything you asked for us, hopefully. The applicant is looked favorably upon.
Submitted an L float instead of a T float.
Yeah, to sort of get further from that 10-foot line,
Yeah.
like we talked about. Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Looks good.
You did exactly what
Yeah.
you requested to do, so
Why not?
it made sense.
Do you want to talk about Green Street while I'm here, or is that's the next? I know that's like
Not on,
stamp plan stuff. We can't do that, right?
it's not on
It is, it's on stamp plans waiting for approval.
the, as long as we have stamp plans.
I think there is. I don't think there's any issues. I just was curious to know if you.
Yeah, as long as there's stamp plans, and when we review through it, we'll make sure. And if not, he'll bump you and say
Okay.
we need stamp plans.
That's perfect.
Or if something doesn't match.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks a lot.
All right.
Melissa and Bruce Human.
Conic Environmental, 2 Seagull Hill Road.
Hold it.
Hold it, that's on hold. Okay. go to Lucas Torres and Laura Bowden, 53 Grant Boulevard. You have stamp plans, James?
Let me pull it up.
Is this your application?
Yes.
Ed Wolf was supposed
Right,
to be
that's
here, but
okay,
he's not
it's all right.
feeling well.
No, it's okay, it's okay. As long as we've got your stamp plans and they match.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and we actually haven't seen the stamp plans. Ed, got those and I think has filed them. And you have them. They're all good. We had sent you a letter. We had talked a couple of times about our application because we had put in an application back in
We-
20.
We know, we went through it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all been
It's all been, we're
discussed.
already discussed, we're just to the end stage here.
Okay.
Where we needed to
Stamp
have
plan.
the stamp plan, so
Okay.
he did, Ed already.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he already addressed that all with us, so you don't have to rehash it, we got it, we
Okay.
understand.
Okay.
Ed did exactly what we asked him to do, he's provided it. James Dury, our environmental analyst, has
Okay.
it, we just have to make sure that it's for the file, it's complete, and we have the same requirements that, everybody else needs.
So the
And-
engineered stamp plans is the
Are we
final,
there?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so you're,
Did you ask about the fees? The fees is what we're really,
well, the
that's what
fees,
we're very concerned
I mean, I
about.
can't get into the fees with you right now. I don't handle we don't sit here and calculate out fees and
Got
stuff.
it.
So if you have questions about fees, feel free to call.
Okay.
We'll
We'll
discuss
follow
that.
Call
but-
the office, yeah.
Exactly. But
Or
we're
send
just,
an email.
We're good here today.
Okay.
yes, we just take care of what we need to take care of, get this to
Okay.
the next step. Ed did exactly what we asked him to do, and there it is.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
We'll have
thank you.
further conversation about
Just want to
fees.
make sure.
Okay.
Green Street?
Stamp plan received.
It's all good.
Advance it.
You good?
Green Harbor LLC.
This is 68.
Yep.
Field Trust, 61 Ferry Road.
Yes.
See stamp plans.
Yes.
It's within the, outside of the 10-foot,
Yes.
should be good.
Advance.
Yep.
68, the Thune Trust.
That was that one.
Oh,
Yep.
that was that.
Yeah, now we're on 237 Nyack Road.
Oh, what about the Green Harbor one?
We did that one, right?
Oh, we didn't.
Yeah. Yes. Received. Stamped.
Off the right of way. Looks good.
Advance.
Great.
Last one.
This was the Southampton project.
Yeah.
This Point Road, is that what it's called?
Yeah. It's the end of Point Road.
Pine Point.
Good to go.
Life random.
I see it.
Yep.
It's good.
All right.
Okay, so that concludes the work session agenda. Everything that is on here is done, and I think now we just gotta go back into executive session before we go to our general session at 1 o'clock. So, I'll make the motion to adjourn. Go to the exec, seconded by Trustee.
All right.
All right.
Okay, Evan. Stay, everybody.